This week on Two Dudes, Three Legs.
No, they didn't reach out to me. I was calling you all morning. Okay. All right, we'll go through everything. Okay, all right, you got it. Thanks. Bye. He's been in jail since Saturday. That's why he missed his appointment.
That's one reason to miss your appointment. That's a good reason.
Yeah, he decides to drink and then he doesn't pay for nachos. He leaves the restaurant.
You mean the other one that was supposed to come in today?
Yeah.
Oh, a different one.
He just wants another one.
It's all right. Life is not about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. Yeah, put it right in the front.
Isn't that the truth, though?
All right.
Oh.
Shush!
She's ready.
Good timing.
He said all right.
Good timing.
Okay.
Everyone ready?
Let's do it.
You're ready, I know. I know you're ready. Welcome back to the Two Dudes, Three Legs podcast. We have our host, Zac Dingy.
I'm Tony Capoletti, and today we have Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Detox himself, and his lovely wife, Lynne Mitchell.
Thank you.
And we got Pippa.
Pippa, yeah, don't forget about Pippa.
Team mascot, podcast mascot.
Our therapy
Yeah,
dog.
the therapy dog. So right off the bat, I really want to know what it was like for you guys to sit with network executives about the possibility of having your own TV show. And I want to know what it was driving you, because obviously you want to do this TV show to spread awareness. Can you talk a little bit about that?
A few years ago, I have a 50-something-year-old guy come into my office doing heroin for 20 years. And he goes, I didn't know there was any treatment for heroin. I didn't know there was Suboxone or Vivitrol. No one told them. And that's very common. People don't know there's treatment. So my daughter, who's in the industry, did a sizzle of us, our show, a 5-minute sizzle.
And her boyfriend.
And her boyfriend. Yes, thank you. And she showed it to some production companies. They're interested because we're different than most addiction medicine physicians. We detox everybody at home. It's very rare that I would send anyone to a detox. People do much better. My success rate is probably over 95%. People do better in their home. They're in their own bed. They're with their family. They go into a rehab. They're sleeping on a cot with 60 other people. They don't get enough meds. You know, it's a business, rehabs. To me, it's like the prison system. They want repeat business. So
Right.
they at 28 days, they say, okay, you're fine. Only 30% of the rehabs in the country even give medication to leave. So what's going to happen? The brain's going to talk to them. And then, in 60, 90 days, they're back doing rehab again. So it's insanity.
Right.
So that's why we detox everybody at home. So the show has interest, and it's a family business. It's Lynne, myself, and
Anyone who's in the house. Everybody's part of it.
Exactly. And our success rate's also very high because everybody, which probably wasn't a smart idea, has my cell phone number.
Yeah.
We just figured that out before the show.
Yeah.
You sounded like you were having some crazy stuff happening right before we hopped on. And
Always. I had somebody
always.
call me at 4:30 in the morning last week, asked me what time his appointment was in the morning. At 4:30 in the morning.
He didn't want to
It's
be
not
late.
right now, I'll tell you that much.
He didn't want to be late.
This is what we chose to do, so this is what we did.
The main reason for the TV show was to spread awareness, to kind of get it.
It's
a little
all
bit more
it's
popular.
all about awareness. To tell them what different medications are out there, what they can use, what they need to stay sober. I mean, medication's great, but they need to go to therapy. They need to go to AA meetings. Those are very important because if you don't work on yourself, I can keep you on meds for 10 years. I stop. You're going to go back and use. You need to work on yourself. So it's very important. So that's the awareness that we're trying to.
Right. So more than spreading awareness of the addiction, you want to spread awareness of your methods of curing it and helping people.
Well,
which
cure is a difficult word.
Yes, sorry.
Because this is a chronic disease. So yeah, we try to keep people sober as long as we can. Listen, do people relapse? All the time.
Right.
But it's how quickly they stop doing their alcohol or their drugs and they get back on the program. And that's the important thing.
Can you tell us a little bit about the miracle drug Vivitrol compared to other opioid blockers and why it's a better drug and more effective?
listen, everybody's different. A lot of people do well with buprenorphine, naloxone, Suboxone, but I have great success with the Vivitrol because once I detox someone off a heroin/fentanyl or oxycodone/fentanyl, because there's no such thing as pure heroin or pure oxycodone. Let me tell you, 10, 12 years ago when there was just heroin, my life was a lot easier. It was simple to get them off and on. Now it's difficult because the cartel is using fluorofentanyl and it's staying in the receptors anywhere from 7 to 13 days. So it's a long process. But once I get them, sober and good, we give them the Vivitrol shot. Once I give the Vivitrol shot, it's like putting a lock on all their what's called mu receptors in their brain. They can't get high.
So if somebody takes the Vivitrol shot, leaves your office, and physically, takes a shot, heroin or fentanyl or whatever it may be, it's going to block.
It'll block. And I got to tell you, 50% of people that get the first Vivitrol shot will use just to see if it works.
Yeah, go to
Wow.
try. And they don't feel anything. It's like they never took an ounce of heroin after they do it, and they try to.
No, but I always tell them, listen, if you keep doing heroin to try to get that feeling, you're not going to get it, but you're going to die of respiratory depression. Yeah. So don't keep doing heroin.
That's interesting. How does that work? Respiratory depression.
Because they do so much.
Opioids cause respiratory depression. I mean, that's part of what they do. So if you have a Vivitrol shot and people are trying to get high and they can't get high, they'll keep doing heroin. They're not going to get high, but their respirations can stop.
Vivitrol is like monthly, right? And that's why
it's once a month. I give it every 3 weeks because I found it wanes from the body after 3 weeks. So I like to keep the levels up. There's naltrexone pills, 50 milligrams. You give them once a day. The only problem is if they stop taking it, they can get high.
And that's the problem is they could stop it at any minute.
Exactly.
And then they can go get high.
Right.
With the Vivitrol shot, they can't do it for 3 weeks at minimum.
At minimum, exactly.
That in itself is a huge part because after 3 weeks, does their desire to want to do it go down or no? Because you would say they're still addicted.
Not in the beginning, no.
Good timing. You owe me a soda.
I also found it interesting that, you mentioned fentanyl, right? And when everybody thinks of the drugs people are doing nowadays, it's always opiate. Everyone's thinking opiates and heroin. And, from someone like you who really sees it, how much of this has become fentanyl?
All of it. I mean, it's all fentanyl. I find...
Really?
Oh, my God. Fentanyl is in every... bootleg, people paying $40 for an oxycodone, it's all fentanyl. It comes over from China, they make it here, it's like $300 a kilo. So the trouble is that if you're a dealer, you buy a kilo of heroin for whatever, $20,000, $25,000. They put in a kilo of fentanyl for $300. Now they think they have 2 kilos for the price of one.
Right.
The trouble is that fentanyl is 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine, and that's why everybody's dying.
Are you seeing more overdoses?
All the time. Everybody in my practice gets naloxone just in case.
How
And
long
it's
ago
not
did
just
that?
one naloxone. You have to get more than that when there's fentanyl involved
Right,
because it's
because
stronger.
Right, naloxone's short acting, so it'll wake somebody up, but then they can get back into the overdose. So you have to hit them a couple of times.
Wow. So how long ago did it, because you said back in your day when heroin was pure heroin, when did that change? Now fentanyls and everything?
Oh, it's been in everything for at least five years, maybe more. Wow. I mean, everything. I've seen it in bootleg 2 milligram Xanax. I've seen it on pot that people buy on the street. I mean,
so basically,
and cocaine.
Yeah.
Fentanyl and cocaine, and everybody that comes to me to get off cocaine, there's fentanyl in all the cocaine.
So if you're doing cocaine, what are the chances that your cocaine has fentanyl in it?
Pretty high.
Unless you're getting it straight from Santo Domingo as pure, it's probably 90 to 100%.
Wow.
Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
And a lot of people think, I'm just going to get high tonight, got some coke and stuff like that, and they're dead.
Yeah.
And that's not okay, because if you're just going to get high and then all of a sudden you're dying, I tend to call that murder. I'm not saying, that any of it's fair, but that's just not fair. That's just not fair to people. And these are mothers and fathers, on a Friday night, and then their kids have to go and find them dead.
Person that comes to me, he's doing very well. His friend took an oxycodone, told his mother he's going to lie down, wake him up for dinner. She went in there, he was dead.
And that's it.
I mean, I could tell you a million stories. I somebody told me in my practice that her girlfriend's husband decided to go upstairs and do a couple of lines of cocaine because they were having people over for a party. Never came down. She found him on the toilet seat.
It's terrible. And I agree that it's murder. I mean, we did an episode of this, and the name of it was Shoot Your Local Heroin Dealer, because we feel strongly that, like, you know, if you sell somebody something and it kills them,
Right.
you killed them.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's a murder charge.
Yeah.
There's no
Well, that's what
difference.
they're doing
It's
now
not
anyway.
ju-
They're
it's just
charging the
not.
dealers.
Yeah.
And what did they make off of that one deal? $40? That's how much that guy's life was
That's
worth
why
to you?
when it first came out, I said to myself, you know, when I started seeing fentanyl, I said, is this a good business decision? I mean, if you're a dealer, don't you want repeat business?
Right. You're killing your
You're killing
customers.
everybody.
Yeah.
It's
Holy
crazy.
smokes. Well, on that topic of stories, I'm sure you have a good origin story of why you started, like when you were younger, why you got into this field. What was the reason you were you doing something beforehand? Why'd you get into addiction medicine?
I had a very large practice in Greenwich Village in Manhattan in pediatrics.
No way. Okay.
Wrote a book. I was very well known. But my brother was, an addict since he was 15. He would, do pills. He would drink. He would do coke. He would just. I'll tell you how crazy he was. When he was 17, he bought a canister of nitrous oxide, laughing gas. He taped it to the back of the driver's seat, put the mask on, and drove around town on nitrous.
Oh, my
And my
gosh.
and my poor, it was terrible. My poor parents at 3 a.m, neighbors would call, oh, your son Peter is asleep on our grass and this and that. And then he'd have like 2 or 3 years of sobriety. He got married, had a child, moved out to Ohio to be with the child, met a friend, started doing heroin. I spoke to him every night, and I didn't hear from him for a day or two. So I called the office manager. I said, you got to go into his apartment. I speak to him every day. He was dead on the floor with the needle still in his arm from a heroin overdose. So I sold my pediatric practice, and this is what we've been doing for the last 12, 14 years.
Saving people's lives.
Trying.
Yeah. Well, you
Doing our
guys certainly
best.
are. I mean, you've done something very special for a very close friend of mine, so I can speak to the fact that what you do is certainly different. And that's, obviously how we ended up meeting you. But what you do works, and very effectively and very quickly.
Right. I detox people at home. I give them enough medication, and that's another problem with the rehabs. They don't give enough medication, so people either sign out against medical advice, or they can't wait till they get out so they can use because they feel like crap.
Right. You created a comfortable environment for someone to heal in.
Right.
And I watched it happen. And that's what was most important, because, why would anyone go back to using? Because they're uncomfortable and they're hurting and they're
Exactly.
and you nailed it with your methods.
Right. If I keep someone comfortable the whole time, especially getting past the first 3-4 days, we're home free. They do
Right.
great.
It's downhill from there.
By the time people come to our office, they're usually on their knees.
Yeah.
Like they've done everything and this is it, unless they're court mandated. But that's another story. But they'll come on their knees, they're really looking for help. So we try to create this judgment-free zone.
Right.
We don't judge you for
Right.
what you're doing. So, and we care. And we really care about the outcome of this person. We care about this person. We care about their families and what the dynamics are going on there. By the time they're done with me at the front desk, then they go back to Doc. And he, in his own way, and this is how this whole show was getting started, has a way to deal with people who are in this. They come in crying and they leave laughing.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what that's about, but he is so fantastic. And I feel, even if he's my husband of 33 years, like I feel blessed.
Oh, come on.
And I love and I love watching him like really get these people healthy and get them laughing again.
Yeah.
Laughter is so important. And so we'd like to be like a healing space and he gives them the phone, but so many times it's not all laughing. He'll yell at them. He'll tell them
yeah.
exactly where.
I've heard it.
I think I kicked out 2 people in all the time I've been in practice, because this is a chronic disease. Relapse happens. as long as they're willing to get back on the meds and do the right thing, I stay with them the whole time.
Yeah, I saw it. I brought a friend to you, and you called me a bunch of times. You woke me up every morning for like a week.
Yeah.
Like you guys calling me first thing in the morning,
Yeah.
but checking in, and
Better you than me.
it never felt like a doctor was calling, and I don't mean that in any bad way. It felt like a friend was calling to check in and make sure everything was going the right way. And you offered more information than I even asked. Always, I didn't even have questions because you knew. I mean, you've been through this process so many times. You've helped so many people. I'm sure for you, it's like, okay, I know what to do here.
Well, that's why our success rate is so high. Because if I detox someone, I'm calling that house 3-4 times a day.
Oh, I know, and it feels good too. Like I feel like you're my buddy, and that's how I want to work with people. No matter if it's whatever I'm going to do home improvement or if I'm saving somebody's life. When you interact with people, that creates a lasting effect. And like you said, when I came into that office that morning, it wasn't a good morning. No. And we left smiling with hope, and it became a very good thing. And, I watched you save someone's life.
Yeah, I always tell people when I detox them, I said, you're going to get tired of hearing my voice.
That's amazing. That's why the success rate is so high.
Yeah.
Because that's everything. The
It's
community
you
of
make
people
it
you
personable.
deal with.
Yeah, exactly.
But you need to know someone cares. Someone cares
Yeah.
about you.
And it's not just opioids. I mean, we detox a ton of people off alcohol. No one talks about alcohol because it's a legal drug, but there's over 480,000 people that die a year because of alcohol-related problems.
Yeah.
We talked, about the opioids because over 100,000 people died, which is terrible, but over 480,000 people. I mean, the alcohol, especially during the pandemic, people were home. Two worst things for an addiction brain are boredom and isolation, and that's what these people had. Yeah. So the brain would talk to them. Even people that I had sober from alcohol for 10 years. Their brain would talk to them. I could have a glass of wine now. I could, I'm good. They're not good. 3 weeks later, they're calling me.
Right.
They're not good.
Right.
And this disease doesn't go away.
And we keep talking about the substances, right? And you keep saying people's brains are talking to them. And the way you would explain it to me is this is not about the substance so much as it is a chronic disease of the brain.
Exactly.
And can you speak to that a little bit and explain how that works? Because I think people are, they really think it's all just the drugs, and they don't understand.
It's not the drugs. The earlier you start, drug use, 15 or 16, it takes till age 25 for your brain to fully mature, when you start to think with your prefrontal cortex, is this a good idea for me? Learning, reasoning. Mm-hmm. You don't get that if you start doing drugs. Everything's impulsive. Boom, I have to have it now. Got to do it now. Addiction is a very selfish disease. It's all me, but it affects the whole family unit, and I try to explain that to them. So it drives me crazy because if someone has type 2 diabetes and they're eating a cheesecake, no one said, "Oh, look what you're doing, this and that." But if it's someone with a substance use disorder, they get on top of them. It's crazy, what they do, and that's why the prison system's crazy. I mean, probably 50% of the people in prison are there because of drug use.
Yeah.
I mean, instead of putting them in jail, put them in a rehab for a year and then put them in sober living for 2 years.
Yeah.
So they can get better. I mean, they're not going to get. You know what happens when you're in jail? People's brain think of the last amount of heroin or oxy they did. The minute they get out, they do that, they overdose, they die.
Right. Wow. And it's a bad environment to be in.
Environment.
We know that addiction does not discriminate. Can you generally characterize the demographic of your patients?
Oh yeah, listen, I have people that are work construction or unemployed, and I have people that are famous actors or partners in law firms. I mean, it doesn't. This doesn't discriminate. They say it's about 60% genetic, 40% environmental, learned, but I think genetics plays a huge part in addiction.
What would you say that ratio is?
I think it's much higher genetic.
Really?
I do, but I mean, everything you read will say 64.
Because I have a lot of beliefs. You can plow through things in your brain and you can make things like, 80% of it is just your thoughts and the way you think about things is why things happen to you. I always thought, before I started sitting with Tony and finding out more stories about people that you've worked with and JJ we had in the show, I always thought, and I think most general people do who haven't been in the life of someone who's been addicted and seen that, I always thought it's just that person and they need to fix themselves. But really, you're saying it's more of something in their brain and they really can't help themselves.
Exactly. That's why therapy is so important for these people, not only to get sober, but continue in therapy and work on your triggers, and anyone that comes to me, I said, you have contacts of your dealers in your cell phone. You need to delete them now. And if you don't want to delete them, listen, I tell people in my practice, if you lie to me, I can't help you.
Right.
I said, you pay to come to me. If you want to lie, sit in a Medicaid clinic. Don't come to me.
Yeah.
But if you want help, tell me what's going on. I'm not going to kick you out, but I need to know because I need to know how to treat you.
Right.
So let me ask you, why do you think most people start why do most people get involved in drugs? You don't think it's the environment?
Friends, family.
Okay.
They started. I mean, that's what usually, that's how it starts as a kid at 15.
Or like
Friends,
injury,
family, people.
or
later, or someone's in a car accident and they're on, oxys and, now, the physicians know better, but, years ago, they would put someone on, let's say oxycodone for a month because they had a bad back injury in a car accident, and then just stop it. The person goes through and saying, oh my God, I'm sweating, I don't feel good, my stomach, I have diarrhea. They're going through withdrawals.
I can speak to that. I can speak to that. When I got in my accident, they gave me drugs, they got me loaded up, addicted.
Right.
And then just stopped me. You know what the worst
insanity.
part of after my accident was? Withdrawal.
Exactly.
For 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I couldn't move for 2 weeks. I slept through my birthday.
Oh my God.
It was miserable.
Exactly.
And why would they do that?
Because
There has to be an
Well,
aftercare.
well, they
There's gotta
wanted
be.
me to not feel pain, but then they didn't want to get me addicted, so they cut me right off.
yeah, but
Although I was
after 10 to 14 days, you're physically addicted anyway.
Yeah.
So they had you on
I was
for a month.
2
you're
months
definitely-
in, yeah,
you're
by that
physically
point.
addicted. Exactly.
But that's how they saved me, withdrawal. But and I believe it must be a chronic disease of the brain because I feel like a lot of people that I know, if in that situation, would have went out and right to the street and got fentanyl and began right there. And I can see how easy, because God damn, I would have much rather been high than went through that 2 weeks of hell,
Exactly.
sweating and not sleeping and liquids coming out of my body every which way. It was
You're lucky it was just 2 weeks. I mean, it could last 6, 9, it could last a longer time.
really,
Yeah.
yeah, I started feeling a lot better after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Thank God. I've been in the office. I see you two working side by side, saving lives. Can you talk a little bit about, the sacrifices you guys make as a family and, the pressure that puts on the household?
Well,
Well, thank goodness we don't see each other that often in the office.
Oh, really?
that's not true at all.
Listen,
You see the size of the office.
Lynn
Yeah.
runs the front office. I'm in the
And
back.
he runs the back. We have respect for each other and what we do, what each other does. As far as the home life, we've gotten used to a dinner where we're eating dinner, but he's off on the phone somewhere else and coming back and taking a bite or two, or off talking to a patient. We're so used to that. So the work-home balance is work, home, work,
Right.
home. And we have the kitchen is set up where he works from the kitchen. I have my stuff in the kitchen where we work. And the cell phone is just really key to everything else we do because everyone's got our cell phone numbers.
So it's
Yeah,
a family effort.
It's a
It's
family
definitely a
effort.
family effort. I mean, Lynn runs the whole front office. She does the appointments. She does, everything. So
Yeah, I keep the office
takes a lot of
alive
pressure off of me.
Yeah.
And just greeting the patients. I love the patients. I love the patients. And
front
I
office.
feel that they feel that also.
Absolutely.
That they're cared for. So
100%.
So now I call it a concierge
Okay.
practice because it's not just like a regular practice. Like,
No.
who else gives out their cell phones like that? Who else is on call
Yeah,
24
nobody.
hours? 24 hours a day.
Nobody is
Who's getting phone calls in the middle of the night about their appointments or anything? I make sure everything's HIPAA protected. You know, I protect his license. And sometimes that makes him crazy because, no, you can't say that, or you can't put that over text because that's like a legal document. No, so I'm protecting him.
I love it.
In that way.
It takes a family.
Yes,
Dr.
yes.
Mitchell, what do you
run
think
a
about the term work-life balance?
What's that?
Yeah, exactly.
Listen,
That's the
my
truth.
only I get up at 5 in the morning, and you know, I work out, and that's gets me going for the day. So
And that's it. You're off to it.
I'm off and running.
When I see you, man, it's like you're doing the work you're doing is incredible. I mean, you're saving lives. Like, there's no question about that. And I don't think that's lost on you. And I think you found what you love, and it doesn't even seem like work to you. I just feel like you're talking to people and like, it's just your life. And like, what a beautiful thing that you've found that, you know, it's very stereotypical, but people always say, you know, when you find what you love, you don't work a day in your life. But it just seems like you found something that your family loves, and you guys all just go at it like a team, and it's
they're
really
all behind,
amazing.
yeah, behind me, my Lynne, the kid, you know, our children.
Our daughter and her boyfriend, while he saw us working for the first time, because during COVID they both came to live here, and he works in an advertising studio. He said, "Holy shit, I can't believe what you guys are like. First of all, you're funny together because there's like, we're like one of those like married teens, and, you know, comedy teens, and the work that you're doing, the way you talk and treat your patients, and it's just so entertaining.
Yeah.
So they would come, they'd follow us around with the camera everywhere, and get all this great stuff, this great footage, and that's what we're about. So we love what we do.
And everybody we help is
Love each other.
It's great, you know, for the patient and obviously for the families.
Right, right.
it's important.
It's just a big win-win-win all around for you guys.
Yeah, it's just
and I love to see that.
Great
It's so
feeling.
cool. Yeah, you guys carry great energy too. Like,
Yeah.
Don't you find that sometimes it's harder on the families than it is for the individual?
It's always hard on a family. You know, going back to my brother. I mean, this went on for, you know, till he died at 43. I started at 15, and my mother was always a wreck. And when he died, I mean, obviously we were all like, you know, beyond sad and crying. But about 2 weeks later, you know, I saw that there was like almost like she was standing up straight. There was like a relief that, you know, he was finally at rest because he was, you know, so out of control. So it affects. Listen, I have fathers and mothers, you know, call me all the time, and that's the problem with addiction, because, and I think I said this before, it's a very selfish disease. It's me, and then in the beginning, before they get help, if you talk to them, what they'll do is they'll point to somebody else to take it off of them and say, yeah, but he's doing this or she's doing that, you know, to get it off of them. So, you know, they don't understand in the beginning, you know, what they're doing to the whole family dynamic. It affects everybody.
They say it takes about a year to get the trust back.
yeah.
From a family member with, and the addicted person doesn't understand, like, all of a sudden I'm doing the right things, why don't you trust me? Well, let me
It's been
Well,
5
because you've been
years
doing
of-
drugs for 20
Correct.
years and you're sober for 3 months, you got to wait a little
yeah,
while.
Correct.
like I
You're
lost
doing the
all
right
my
thing, just
jewelry's
continue
all
it.
gone, and
Yeah.
They play the victim as the other guy. They play the victim role very well.
Oh, yeah.
Very well.
yeah, they create their own victim.
What's up, guys?
I think it's interesting that you said there was like a little bit of bittersweetness when your brother passed, because that's a real testament to a disease.
Yeah.
Because when somebody is dying from a disease and it's completely out of their control, there is a little bit of bittersweetness when the suffering is over at the end. You know, it's obviously very sad when somebody dies, but
Right.
you know that they're suffering through it and it's out of their control.
Well, you know, my uncle, he killed himself, and he was on painkillers, and we said that it was, you know, he got drunk one night, he was on painkillers, and his brain you're in a different place. You know what I mean? Your brain chemicals, like, and you could probably speak to this better than I can, but we just said, because he's never been, or at least we didn't know how he was like that. We never knew he was suicidal. He was a normal dude. And he always was the happiest guy at the party, the whole 9 yards, you know? And then he's on painkillers and drinks, and all of a sudden, he kills himself. And it's just like your brain chemicals are on a whole different.
Well,
you know?
listen, alcohol is a severe depressant. So people get depressed and they drink, and they think that's going to do it, but it just makes everything
makes it
worse.
It prolongs it.
Yeah, it's just
And makes it
listen,
worse.
an addict doesn't need a reason. If something terrible happens, there's a reason to use it. Something
Something
great
good
happens, there's
happens.
a reason to celebrate. There's no in
Absolutely.
between. It's 0 or 110%. There's
Right.
no in between.
So what are some horror stories that you've had in this field? Because there's got to be. I mean, I'm sure there's crazy stories, but give us something that's a horror story or something crazy that you could.
Go ahead. You love that story.
No, you love that
No,
story.
go ahead. Tom.
You're better at it, though.
I got 2 quick stories, I'll tell you. I had this brother and sister that were IV heroin users. I mean, doing 5 bundles a day each. The parents brought them to me, very, very wealthy people. And I wanted to detox them and get them on the Vivitrol shot. So I think the second night or something, they both ran out, or somebody met them at the mailbox and they used. So the father called me. I said, listen, this has to be like a prison. You need to be on top of them 24/7. He calls me the next day. He said, they're not going anywhere. I hog-tied them to the chair to stay in like that for 7 days.
Stop it.
Yeah. They,
Legitimately,
They had-
hog-tied him.
they had some family members that were ex-cops that
well-
tied them, and they hired them. So I guess they weren't family to like
So,
watch
yeah.
over them.
Yeah.
so
Oh
that
my
they didn't
goodness.
Hey, if
It
it
worked.
works, right.
Yeah.
I was just
You're
gonna say
saving
that.
a life.
Yeah.
By any means.
We had another person, he must have been about 36 or 7. His mother put bells on all the doors and slept in sneakers just in case he left, because he used to go to the mailbox to pick up his drugs.
Yeah.
So just in case she heard the bell, she would be out of bed and
Slept in
boom, she would run
sneakers.
over.
Holy smokes.
Run after. Yeah.
By any means, right?
Any means.
Yeah.
As long
I
as
mean, the family always cares more, or like they're the ones who aren't inside of it, so they can see. It's like if you're in a bad relationship, you never know you're in a bad
But
relationship.
they're going through the same
That's
thing. They're
person's
just not
correct,
doing the
yeah.
drugs. I mean, but they go through the same thing. The person with a substance use
Emotionally, they feel it all.
You know what I
All the
think?
pain.
I just realized that you do that I think is very important, and to you it's just second nature, but I think this is what sets your practice apart a little more, as you get the family involved. And, the saying, it takes a village, like it really does take other people. And I couldn't imagine the process that I watched with that person doing it alone. I don't think it would be possible.
Oh, I never detox anybody at home if they're alone, Or I'll never detox. I had a husband and wife come in a few weeks ago, and they both had severe alcohol use disorder, and I think she wanted to be detox first, and then he would be detox. I said, no, either you both get detox at the same time,
Yeah.
I'm not doing it, because if you get detox and he's still drinking, the minute you're done, you're going to want to drink. I
Right.
said, you're wasting your time and money.
Right.
So we got a relative to stay with them, and I detox them both at the same
Time. So you do make sure that there's almost like somebody overseeing the whole
Well,
process.
someone's got to give the medication. A lot of medications I give, make them sleep a lot. I want them to sleep a lot and be comfortable, especially the first 3 days.
Right.
But also drink.
So I can't have them, look through their medication, because they're an addict. If one is good, then 5 are great.
Yeah.
So someone's got to give the medication.
Right.
So
Do you think the healthcare system has come a long way? Do you see positives in the way that legislation is being written in regards to addiction as a community, the opioid crisis, government services, insurance, all of that?
I think a lot of the states are coming around. New York State, in fact, I just got a call from someone. They wanted me to see if I would write Suboxone for people that were in halfway houses, and things like that. I mean, in the federal prison system, someone's addicted to something, they throw you in the shoe, in the isolation. and they let you vomit and have diarrhea for 4 or 5 days, and then they let you out with the general population. There's no medication. So it's starting to come around. It's very slow, but there's legislation out there to help people, continue, because the incidence of overdose with prisoners getting out of prison is so high, because there's no help inside. I mean, they have some groups and things, but nothing to write home about.
And what about all the K2 and all the there's synthetic opioids, there's synthetic
What are you talking about, in prison?
In prison.
Yeah, the two biggest drugs that get sneaked into prisons are Suboxone and K2, the spice, the
What's
synthetic.
Suboxone?
Suboxone is buprenorphine naloxone. That's a great medication. It's a opioid. It works on the mu receptors. It's a partial agonist. And I have a lot of people on the practice on it. It's great. It maintains them. They can function. I have people that work and do great on Suboxone.
So you give it to people who are
Everybody's different. I don't give everybody a Vivitrol shot. I'll give a lot of people Suboxone because they need that opioid in their brain for them to stay normal. But they're not getting high. It's just stopping all their urges.
Right. It's
And
giving
then
the
they
brain what
ask-
it wants.
They ask, how long do I have to stay on this? So he
I said, well, how long have you been using drugs? 20 years. So I said, you think 3 months of medication, you're going to be okay? I said, you got to stay on this for years,
Yeah.
And it depends on the therapy, if they do therapy. But, I keep them on a minimum of 2-3 years.
So they had those. We did that one episode where they opened up those facilities in New York City. I forget what they were called.
Oh, the
Safe injection sites.
Yeah, harm reduction is called.
What do you think about those? Good idea? Bad idea?
It's dropped hepatitis C down dramatically. I mean, needle exchange, it's very important. Listen, you're never going to stop people from doing drugs. That's why we spend so much money on the border trying to stop. You take down one cartel person, and the next one's there in 2 seconds.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Should be spending money on rehabs and sober living and things to help people. You're never going to get rid of the drug trade. It's too big of a business.
Right.
So short term or long term, what are your goals for, is there any big picture items that you have coming up with a TV show or something to help combat drugs in any other sort of way?
And on top of that, I want to ask your method that you're using. I'm not exactly sure how to ask this. I would love to see other people using your method.
Correct.
Not me.
Yeah.
Put me out of business.
Well, yeah, I
guess
get
that's
that.
true.
That's true.
And let me tell you, it took me a lot of years to develop.
Right.
Of
course.
tweaking this, tweaking that. So.
But is there a way you could grow it and I don't know. I would just love to see more of what you do in the world because
Correct,
it's the only thing I've ever seen that works. And it seems foolproof to me. From what I've seen, it's just such a good way, the way to do it.
I know what you're saying, Tom.
I can't articulate
I
it.
think we all would agree. You can't franchise out care.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's not only what I do, it's how we do it.
Right.
A lot of people will do addiction medicine, but they'll do internal medicine with addiction medicine as a sideline. Write Suboxone or do that, or do pediatrics and do addiction medicine as a sideline. We just do addiction medicine. This is what we live 24/7.
Yeah.
So for us, it's different. But in March, I was at the annual American Society of Addiction Medicine, and I spoke to people. Some people ask me what I do. I mean, I tell them what I do.
Yeah. But there's the ingredient they're missing is the Mitchell family.
We got to get a clone
Structure.
machine. Have you started making up those yet? You on that?
That did answer my question. I
Clone
think
you guys.
the correct answer is they can't do it.
No.
Other people can't unless they really have a passion.
It's a lot of work. I mean, besides seeing patients, if I'm detoxing someone, I'm calling that person 4 times a day. I'm calling family members. I'm checking on them.
Yeah.
What about
Right.
the most recent girl that you detoxed? Couldn't hear, trying to call her. He goes to. You went to her house. She didn't have any food. She didn't have any water. She was out of it. And then he went. He got her pizza. He got her food. He got her.
Now she's doing
drink.
See,
fine.
it makes sense that you wouldn't try to push that on other people
Yeah, but how
because
many
nobody's
doctors
willing
are
to
gonna go
work.
with that?
That's what I'm saying. No one's willing to work
No
like
one's
that.
willing to do that. Nobody's willing
It's
to do it.
difficult. It takes a lot of time, out of your schedule. But for me, it was a concern. She didn't sound well, so I ran over there, find out You know, the minute I got 3 bottles of water in her and I bought her some food, she was great.
Yeah.
She just didn't eat in 3 days.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, it's rare that people take their jobs so
Yeah, the
seriously
world-
anymore,
And we live with that.
and you guys really do, and that's what really makes the difference. And it's awesome to see it.
If everyone did their job like that, I mean, we'd have no
The
problems
world
in
would
the
be a
world.
better fucking place.
Yeah, we have no problems in the world. Most people can't even do their job at 10%. You know what I
Right.
mean? You're doing 150% of what you.
Yeah,
what
because
your job is.
we're a family business. You know, people call us and say, when can you see us? We'll squeeze them in right away.
Right.
You call
Yeah.
all these groups, these big groups now. You know, it's you know, what is it, May 16th? You call up. I had someone call. I said, you need a physical. Call your primary. Next opening was September something. I mean, how do you
ready?
wait 5 months for an appointment?
I have to get a new leg,
Right.
right? So I have to go see my primary care doctor. They gave me an appointment 3 months down the road.
Exactly.
What do you want me to hobble for 3 months because you're busy? All you got to do is look at it and say, yeah, it don't fit.
Right.
Get him a new leg. You kidding? I hate that
That's
stuff.
what that's what
and that's
upsets
why
me so much.
Yeah, and that's why I love to see what you guys are doing. You actually give a bleep, and I love that.
No, we do. That's unacceptable.
Listen,
like for
I-
us, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
I came in last Saturday afternoon to give people 2 shots. I mean, you only have a small window to keep someone
Right.
sober.
Correct.
So if they say, listen, I can only come in Saturday at 4 o'clock, I'll make sure I'm there Saturday at 4 o'clock.
And when you say sober, you can almost always replace that word with alive, because that's what it
Exactly.
comes down to.
Yeah.
We came in at 11:30 at night one night when some kid was being released from jail.
Right, and
after
from
5
Binghamton,
years.
yeah.
After 5 years and needed a Vivitrol shot. And we said, whenever you get him out, we'll meet you there. And it was 11:30 at night.
It's amazing. I'm gonna
That's a
come work
story
with
right
you
there
guys.
yourself. That is insane. I want to send my sales reps over to you so you can learn what real work is. These guys work for 4 hours. They think they did something special.
Oh my God,
Tell me I'm wrong.
you're absolutely right.
I have sales guys that work for 6 hours in a day, and they're like, "Whoa, time to go have a beer." I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? We just got warmed up. Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. Thank you, Lynn, for coming on
Thanks
the
for having
show.
us.
This was
Our
amazing.
pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, I wish we had a billion followers so everyone could see this, because
Yeah,
I think
this is important.
The most important message in the world. There's not many people like you in the world in any career. They don't take their job as serious as you do. So it's amazing to see someone in this field that does it, because I feel like doctors too, there's a stigma around it. Is like they just give you the medicine and that's what they do. You know what I mean? Their job is to give you the medicine. A chiropractor's job is to crack your back. You know what I mean? And you go way past what a doctor, quote unquote, is.
I just want to say, if there's anyone out there who's looking for help and wants real help, you're not going to find better help anywhere than with Dr. Mitchell. If you're seeking help, there's no reason to be ashamed. This is a disease. It's not in your hands, but if you come and you put yourself in their hands, they will help you. Reach out. And if this helps one person, I think this has all been worth it. So, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.